to where you need us: investment management, insurance planning, and estate strategies. No two people are the same, so we customize our planning based upon your needs. Reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com. That's northmainfinancial.com.
Welcome in, everyone. Hello. Oh, we're listening to the Scoreboard here. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. If you have something on your mind that you'd like to talk about, I'm here for about another 55 minutes or so. So anything you want to chat about. We don't have, there's so much we could talk about today. There's so much. But we're going to stick to a couple of things. Throughout the week, we'll talk about other stuff as well. I want to talk about high school sports because we have the second round of the soccer playoffs going on. And this coming Friday, first round of high school football playoffs. Yes, the brackets were released over the weekend. We know what the matchups are. We do have some schools in our area who are going to be trying to get that state championship in football. So we're going to talk about that as well. Some other things that happened from the weekend. Joey Logano, your new 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion. The Panthers, a 2-game winning streak. They beat the Giants overseas in Germany. Charlotte FC was unable to hold on to a 1-0 lead in Game 3 of the playoffs for the MLS as they fall in PKs. It was a busy weekend. You had some upsets in college football. The college football playoff rankings will be released later on tonight, and then we'll kind of get a better idea of how things are going to shape up. Now, I was looking at conference standings today in college football, and all you have to know is it's a complete mess. I mean, you look at the SEC, and you have Alabama number 9, but they're 4-2 in the conference. Right now, the conference leaders in the SEC are the number 6 team, Tennessee, and the number 15 team, Texas A&M. So if A&M were to win a conference championship game, they would be locked in to the playoffs because they would be a high enough seed, and they'd be the conference champion. It's going to be crazy. You really can't predict who's going to be seeded where because we don't know what these conference championship games are going to be. We don't know where the seedings are. We don't even know, there could be 2 schools from outside the top 12 win a conference championship and just completely blow the entire playoff up. There's so much that can happen in college football. We're not going to focus on that today, though. We will save that for another day. Most likely tomorrow when the rankings are released. We'll have them later tonight. You also have college basketball getting started back up. Later on tonight, a good game between number 6 Duke, number 19 Kentucky. I know everybody's got their eyes on Cooper Flagg, the potential, probable number 1 pick in the NBA draft this year. He is going to be something else. So if you're interested in basketball, you got Kentucky and Duke playing later on tonight. Get a look at Cooper Flagg, who's, man, he's had a pretty good year so far. I mean, we're only a couple of games in, but it's going to be fun to watch Cooper Flagg this year. And then he's not staying. He's not sticking around. He's going pro after that. But let's start things off with the high school sports scene here today, getting into high school soccer playoffs. We are in the second round. Games will be taking place later on tonight. So some schools around our area, starting with 1A. Christ the King High School has been the one representing the 1A in our listening area. They move on after a 5-0 win against Corvian Community. They move on to play Piedmont Community Charter School. That is a 5 seed. The 12 seed Christ the King will play the 5 seed Piedmont Community Charter. That'll be later on tonight at 6 o'clock, and it'll be at Piedmont Community Charter's home field. Let's move into the 2A bracket. There's some other schools in that bracket that are in our listening area. We've been highlighting Pine Lake Prep. Yes, Pine Lake, my alma mater, they drew a decent seed in these playoffs. I thought they would be rated a little bit better, but they will be playing Wilkes Central High School. That game is going to be at Pine Lake's home stadium tonight at 6 p.m. Now, Wilkes Central beat Mount Pleasant 5-0 over the weekend. That was an upset with the 22 seed beating an 11 seed. So keep that in mind. Wilkes Central is not going to just roll over here. Another school in our listening area, Community School of Davidson, CSD. They were the winners of another upset in this 2A bracket. The 20 seed, CSD, beat Randleman, the 13 seed, 1-0, the final score in that one. So Community School of Davidson moving on to play the number 4 seed, West Caldwell. That is going to be a tough game for CSD, but if they can pull it off, man, I don't see why they couldn't make a deeper run in these playoffs. Those are going to be the two schools within the 2A bracket that we're going to have our eyes on. Now, as we get farther into the playoffs, obviously teams get eliminated. Some of them in our listening area, it gets harder to find those schools that are in our area that we want to see do good. But we still have some in the 2A with CSD and Pine Lake. In the 3A bracket, we do have North Iredell High School still in the playoffs. North Iredell is a 13 seed. They beat Smoky Mountain High School 3-0 over the weekend. They move on as the 13 seed to play number 4 Hebritton High School, who got a 3-0 win over Carson High School over the weekend. East Lincoln got a 9-0 win. That was the most lopsided one that I saw out of the west side of the state. I mean, AC Reynolds came close with a 7-0 victory. There was an 11 that was thrown up there, but 9-0, man, that is a tough one right there. Ashboro, the 1 seed, also scored 9 goals in their game. So East Lincoln, they move on to play Ledford High School. That's the 12 seed. So East Lincoln is just outside, right at the edge of our listening area. We will continue to update you on them as well throughout these playoffs. And with the 4A bracket, we had the game of the week last week came out of this bracket. Number 9, Hopewell High School, and number 24, Huff High School. This was some game, a 2-1 victory and an overtime win for Huff High School. I guess overtime, extra time, stoppage, whatever you want to call it in high school soccer. Remember, we talked to Pine Lake, and it's a little weird how they do things in high school soccer. But Huff High School, the 24 seed, getting the win over Hopewell High School in overtime to get the 2-1 victory. The 24 seed moves on to play Asheville High School. Also, Mooresville High School upset Reagan 4-2. That was a 23 over a 10 seed. Plenty of 4A matchups going around. We will continue to cover these throughout the playoffs. When we come back, we'll wrap up the soccer scene and we'll get right into those high school football matchups. Don't go anywhere. Back after this.
Keep it right here. We'll have more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg in just a moment from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
What do you say we turn up the fall meter just a little bit? Cooler over the next couple of days around Lake Norman. Plenty of sunshine today as high temperatures climb into the upper 60s for the afternoon. We go back down into low 40s under a clear sky tonight. Even a few spots around the outlying areas and farms that could wake up to the upper 30s on Wednesday, with high temperatures only in the low 60s for Hump Day. That's your forecast for the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Greystone Lodge in Boone.
Cakes and cookies, toys and gifts.
The Southern Christmas Show, November 14th through 24th at the Park Expo and Conference Center. Save on tickets at southernChristmasShow.com, courtesy of Kraft Body Scan.
The Southern Christmas Show.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Hot Rods and Hops is back on Friday night at Rev Fast in Mooresville. The cruise-in featuring souped-up cars, trucks, and motorcycles kicks off at 6 p.m. Your weekend begins at Apex Storage Condos in Mooresville Friday night with Hot Rods and Hops. Langtree Lake Norman lights their Christmas tree on Saturday. The annual event begins at 5 p.m. Festivities include visits with Santa, bounce houses, vendors, the Langtree Charter Academy Band, and more. Come out Saturday to Langtree Lake Norman off exit 31 from I-77 for their annual tree lighting. The WSIC squad is back for trivia at Micaiah's. Come join us on Tuesday, November 19th at Micaiah's in Mooresville for Big Bang Theory trivia. Meet WSIC show hosts, play trivia based on the popular long-running sitcom, and win some prizes. Knock, knock, knock. Penny? We'll see you at Micaiah's in Mooresville on Tuesday, November 19th. Speedway Christmas at Charlotte Motor Speedway begins Friday, November 22nd. The Holiday Light Show features more than 5 million lights on a 4-mile course through the oval, pit road, and infield. The show also has drive-in movies on the gigantic Speedway TV. Speedway Christmas tickets and information are available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
The Renaissance Festival is back, Saturdays and Sundays, now through November 24th. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com. While supplies last, don't miss the Renaissance Festival. Huzzah!
This is North Carolina Senator Vicki Sawyer. Join me on Fridays at 11 a.m. for our show, We're Just Saying. We'll discuss state and local politics, and as always, take your calls here on News Talk WSIC.
24/7 worldwide, non-stop.
WSIC.
Local starts here. The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Yes, we're back. Hello. Welcome back to the Scoreboard, segment 2 here on this Tuesday, first day of the week for us here at WSIC. Veterans Day on Monday. Forgive me if I'm a little thrown off by that. You know, it gets to Tuesday and everything's all messed up, right? No, not really. We're talking about high school playoffs, soccer, football, all going on right now. We were in the middle of talking about the 4A bracket. There was a pretty big upset over the weekend involving Lake Norman High School. Lake Norman High School went 19-2-1 during the regular season. They pretty much dominated the conference. An undefeated 12-0. And their opponent in round number 1 of these playoffs was A.L. Brown High School. Now, A.L. Brown is a conference opponent for Lake Norman. Final scores in the games throughout the year: 2-1 and 6-4, both victories for Lake Norman. Well, we get into the first round of the state playoffs. Number 3 seed Lake Norman playing number 30 seed A.L. Brown, and it is A.L. Brown who comes out victorious, scoring 3 goals in the second half to take a 3-2 victory and move on. That is a big, big upset in our local area. Lake Norman always has a good year in sports. No matter what sport it is, they always seem to be doing good. And a huge upset in round one of these state playoffs as Lake Norman falls to A.L. Brown 3-2. Now, the 30 seed A.L. Brown moves on to play Grimsley High School. They are the 14 seed, and they won in a shootout in round one. Just goes to show you, once you get to playoffs, anything can happen. There's a reason that people say survive and advance. That's all you have to do. It doesn't matter how pretty it is, just survive and advance. Lake Norman, unable to do that. Maybe they'll be able to turn their luck around in the football scene. We are going to jump a little bit to the 4A football bracket. Normally we start in 1A and we work our way up to 4A. I'm going to start with the 4A this time. Yeah, why not? Throw a little curveball in there. We have a bunch of schools in our listening area participating in 4A football playoffs. One game that I'll have my eye on, and I believe I'm going to make this one the game of the week. Number 5, Huff High School, taking on number 28, South Iredell High School. Now, South Iredell, we talked to them earlier in the year. They had a much better year this year than they did last year, getting a win in the final game of the regular season against Cox Mill High School to really give them a boost heading into the playoffs. They made it in as a 28 seed. They'll take on number 5, Huff High School. Don't count out South Iredell. I know Huff High School is got the number 3 ranking in the state of North Carolina and all that, but South Iredell has a pretty good squad over there. And when we talk to them, they are an excited bunch. I'm not going to say it's going to be an upset, but I'm going to say it's probably going to be the game of the week. Another couple of schools in our listening area, Mallard Creek High School, which is just outside of us in Charlotte, is playing number 20, Lake Norman. Lake Norman went 7-3 throughout the regular season, a little bit worse than they're used to, usually a 1 or 2 loss regular season team. They finished second in the conference with a 4-2 record, and that's how they draw the number 20 seed. So Lake Norman, number 20, playing Mallard Creek, number 13. Now, all of these games coming up this Friday. Mooresville High School, we've talked about them extensively throughout the year. They had one loss in the regular season, one that it honestly could have gone either way. They could have won that game. And Mooresville High School, 9-1 in the regular season. That one loss coming to Reagan High School early in the year. And by early, I mean this is way back in August, at the end of August. Yeah, it's been that long. Mooresville High School, 9-1. They draw the 6th seed in these 4A playoffs. Their opponent in round 1, Alexander Central High School. It'll be the Cougars taking on the Blue Devils from Mooresville. So Mooresville, the 6th seed, gets a home game against Alexander Central High School. Moving on from that 4A bracket back into the 3A bracket, we do have a few schools in our listening area that are going to be participating in these playoffs. And it's an interesting way that the bracket lays this year. Now, we spent a lot of time talking about Statesville High School. They had a very good year this year, going 8-2 in the regular season. Those 2 losses coming to North Lincoln back in September and Hickory High School. That was the last game of the regular season for Statesville. That was also a conference game for Statesville. Statesville ended up being the number 3 team in their conference, 8-2 overall record. They got a good draw in these playoffs as the 14 seed, but what doesn't help them, in my opinion, is the matchup that's right next to them, where the 2 winners of these games will be facing each other. So it'll be Statesville High School, the 14 seed, getting a home playoff game against Franklin High School, the 19 seed. The winner of that game will play the winner between the matchup of Tuscola High School, the number 30 seed, and Hickory High School, the 3 seed in these playoffs. So a very tough draw for Statesville High School, losing to Hickory a few years in a row now. Hickory's had a really good team over the past few seasons. And they get the 3 seed. The problem with being the 14 seed if you're Statesville is the win. If both those teams win, if Hickory wins and Statesville wins, that is your second round matchup. A tough game early in the playoffs for Statesville, but hey, one at a time, right? Beat Franklin High School for Hickory, beat Tuscola High School, and there's other schools in our listening area that are in these playoffs. The number 27 team in the bracket is North Iredell High School. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I wasn't sure if North Iredell was going to make postseason play with the record that they have. They were 4-6 in the regular season, but they do end up getting into the playoffs. And as long as you're in the dance, you have a chance. Now, they're not the worst team that made the 3A bracket. The 32 seed was 3-7 on the year. That's Parkwood High School. So North Iredell, for them, they made the dance. See what they can do. Their first opponent is going to be the 6 seed Oak Grove High School coming up Friday at 7:30. Moving on into the 2A bracket, that's where you normally see Pine Lake, my alma mater. Unfortunately, I don't see them in the bracket. I didn't see them in the bracket this morning. I didn't see them in the bracket over the weekend. And I definitely still don't see them in the bracket today. So unfortunately, Pine Lake did not make postseason play in the 2A bracket. But there are still schools in the area that are going to be in action. Going over just a couple of them to start with here. Community School of Davidson. CSD went 7-3 throughout the regular season. That was good enough for them to get the 10 seed in these playoffs. Their opponent as the 10 seed will be number 23 Bandy's High School. The winner goes on to play the winner of West Lincoln and Mount Pleasant. You also have Lincolnton High School out in Lincolnton, just outside of and I mean just outside of our listening area. The number 15 seed in the playoffs, taking on number 18 Maiden High School. That is how the 2A bracket is shaking down right now. As we move into the final 1A bracket, there's only one school really within our listening area that's going to be participating in these playoffs. Yeah, it was a rough year in the 1A. But as always, it seems like it's always one school that is representing our local area. Christ the King High School out of Huntersville went 4-6 in the regular season. Not the best regular season, but they did get the 19 seed in these playoffs. Now, they're going to be playing Allegheny High School, who is the 14 seed this coming Friday. Winner moves on to play either the 3 seed Murphy or a number 30 Highland Tech. Now, all of these football games are coming up on Friday, so we have a little bit of time before that happens. We're going to talk more soccer tomorrow as we move into the 3rd round, and then we'll get more into football as we get to Friday. Preview Friday Night Lights, preview the weekend, things like that. We're reaching the halfway point in the program here today, ladies and gentlemen. When we return, we are going to get into NASCAR. A new Cup champion was crowned. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We'll talk about it. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
What do you say we turn up the fall meter just a little bit? Cooler over the next couple of days around Lake Norman. Plenty of sunshine today as high temperatures climb into the upper 60s for the afternoon. We go back down in the low 40s under a clear sky tonight. Even a few spots around the outlying areas and farms that could wake up to the upper 30s on Wednesday. High temperatures only in the low 60s for hump day. That's your forecast for the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Folks, here at Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, we have got the brand new 2025 Chevrolet Traverse in stock, all redesigned from front to back, top to bottom, inside and out. Come see them today. We have got a great selection of these new Traverses ready for you to take home. And also, we got great discounts on our Silverado trucks. We got the regular cab, crew cab, double cabs, discounted up to $9,000 off. Great selection, Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, right on I-40.
Kane Center for the Arts, Lake Norman's new hub for inspiration and community, offers performing arts, visual exhibits, and education in downtown Cornelius. See the full season schedule at canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org.
Harness the healing power of horses. With the amazing staff at Willow Equine in Mooresville, we create a supportive environment conducive to healing and growth, dedicated to self-discovery and overcoming adversity. There's a program for you at willowequine.com.
Bob McIntosh here with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Serving this community has been a collective passion of our law firm since 1997. We offer the quality legal services and results you would expect from a large downtown firm, but with a personal, community-focused approach right here at home. The McIntosh Law Firm, your local legal resource.
To learn more about the McIntosh Law Firm, visit McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Are you annoyed, angry, or maybe there's another word you want to use about where your tax dollars are going? Let's face it, the government does a terrible job of managing money, especially when it's yours and mine. Tax dollars are being wasted, and all the government does is have their hand out for more. So what do? They send you, the tax-paying American or business owner, a letter saying you underpaid your taxes, and you owe us a lot more. Don't laugh and don't cry. Call the Tax Resources Network now. Their trained experts can help negotiate between you and the IRS and take all the stress off your back. And if you're lucky, save you a boatload of tax money. So before you think about calling the IRS, if you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, call us right now.
800-594-0062. 800-594-0062. 800-594-0062. That's 800-594-0062.
I'm Bryce Johnson with this Unpacking It Sports and Faith Minute. Unfortunately, some athletes run into trouble away from the field. When a player commits a mistake in public view, they can only hope a team will show them grace and give them another chance. Grace is a simple yet complicated concept. We hear stories of horrible acts by other people and want them to be punished and written off. But then, when we make mistakes, we desire grace. Thankfully, God is rich in mercy and offers us grace even though we don't deserve it. When we repent from our sin and receive Jesus as our Savior, it's because of His work on the cross we receive complete forgiveness according to His grace. In Ephesians it says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing, it is the gift of God." It's available for all sinners. So today, regardless of our past, let's embrace His grace. I'm Bryce Johnson, and you can unpack that. For more, go to unpackingit.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. A down day today on Wall Street as traders took a break from the recent run-up in the markets after the re-election of Donald Trump. Likely some profit-taking going on, and some jitters ahead of tomorrow's closely watched consumer inflation report. After starting the day at an all-time high, the Dow today lost 382, down nearly 1%. The Nasdaq and the S&P each lost 17. The U.S. dollar hit its highest level in 2 years. Home Depot saw its best quarterly sales in 2 years during the past 3 months, raising its yearly sales forecast. But that's because of hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, bad weather boosting demand for its building materials. Big job cuts at the struggling genetic testing firm 23andMe. It's laying off over 200 workers, 40% of its staff. And more than half of all Americans surveyed by the travel site TripAdvisor say they plan to travel over the holidays. New York City, the top U.S. destination. Cancun, Mexico is top internationally. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
It's the Scoreboard with your host, Sports Director Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
welcome to, well, I can't tell you what I want to call this segment because it's inappropriate for the radio. I want to call this segment something, but we can't, all right? We're going to talk about NASCAR. Yeah. Phoenix, the playoffs, Joey Logano, average finish, top fives, number of wins. We're going to talk about all of that. Playoffs. I have a solution, okay? From what I've heard and from what I've seen after the Phoenix race, nobody's happy. Nobody's happy with the playoff format. Nobody's happy that a guy who was subpar all year won the championship. We'll get into all that. Here's what you need to know. On Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and the Craftsman Truck Series all wrapped up their playoff run, crowning a new champion. And in the NASCAR Cup Series, the one that gets all the attention, it was Joey Logano. Yes, Joey Logano. You heard me correctly. Joey Logano won the NASCAR championship in 2024. Explain that one to me. I will. It was a playoff system. You know how it works. You eliminate drivers until you get to Phoenix, where it's one race out of 36 decides a champion. Make it make sense, please. It was Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Tyler Reddick who were the competitors for the final race of the season. And it was Joey Logano who not only won the race, but won the championship after he was able to fight off a hard-charging Ryan Blaney. Penske now has won the last 3 NASCAR Cup Series championships. This year it was Joey Logano. Last year it was Ryan Blaney. And the year before that, it was Joey Logano. Tyler Reddick really didn't put up much of a fight all race. He was the lowest finishing driver of the 4 championship drivers. William Byron, he didn't really have any moments. I mean, they tried to play a little bit of strategy. It didn't end up working out for him. We knew from the beginning that it was Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney who were going to end up being the class of the field. And in the final 50 laps or so, give him all the credit in the world. Joey Logano made a great restart and got ahead of the field when it mattered most as fast as he could. Ryan Blaney got hung up in traffic, wasn't able to pass a few drivers. It stunted his progress to the front. Now, anybody that was watching that race could tell, the naked eye could tell, that Ryan Blaney had the best car on the long run. He drove Joey Logano down from seconds back, kind of like what he did at Martinsville last weekend. He gets there with about 10 to go. Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough time. There was so much traffic, and it's so hard to pass in these cars. Joey Logano holds off Ryan Blaney. He won the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series championship. Going into this race, Joey Logano had the least amount of top 5s, the least amount of top 10s, the worst average finish out of, let's call it, the final 8 drivers. Because he was better than some playoff drivers, like Harrison Burton, Ty Gibbs, those kind of guys. He was a little bit better than them throughout the year. Chase Briscoe add to that list. Nowhere near a season-long dominating performance. Now, if you want a season-long dominating performance, look no further than Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, the 2 drivers who fought for the regular season championship at Darlington. And obviously, we could talk about, well, if Kyle Larson hadn't missed the Coca-Cola 600, maybe he gets a couple of more playoff points. Maybe he was in the Final Four with the 6 wins that he was able to rack up over the year. It's just not the way it worked. In the system that we have, Joey Logano is the NASCAR champion. And I'm not a fan of it. I think I've made it very clear over the past few months that I'm just not a fan of the way that we crown a champion in NASCAR. We still crowned one. It still happened. Joey Logano is still the champion. But I found a website And take this with a grain of salt, obviously, because if there was no playoffs, drivers would drive differently, crew chiefs would make calls differently, everything would be different. It's no way in shape or form saying that this is what would happen if we didn't have playoffs. But beyondtheflag.com, I found a article by Asher Fair that was written yesterday. He put together the NASCAR standings for a season-long format without playoffs. Without playoffs, your champion this year, while missing a race, would have been Kyle Larson. 5 points over Christopher Bell, 26 over Chase Elliott, 37 over William Byron. Obviously, you're probably thinking, where's Joey Logano? You didn't say him in the top 4. Joey Logano would have been 11th. 11th. Just ahead of Chris Buescher and Bubba Wallace, 2 drivers who did not make the playoffs, and right behind Brad Keselowski and Martin Truex Jr. Denny Hamlin, Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, all those drivers would have been ahead. So you look at that and you think, okay, Logano didn't have a regular season worth riding home over. He won a couple of races in the playoffs to get lucky, right? That's what happens. You luck into a couple of wins, one of them on fuel mileage. And that was after he was re-added back to the playoffs, too. You win at Las Vegas, the first race of the round of 8, and you punch your ticket to the playoff or to the championship race. One race that decides a champion. Joey Logano had 2 extra weeks to prepare for said championship race over his competitors because they weren't locked in. They still had to worry about going to Homestead, and then they had to worry about going to Martinsville. Here is my proposal for NASCAR. I understand a few things, okay? I understand that, number one, you're not going to sell NASCAR ever again without a playoff, right? We can all agree on that. TV is not going to buy it. They just put a deal together. It was like 7 years, $8 billion for the TV rights. TV is not going to understand what it means when you take away playoffs. TV is going to hear playoffs and think playoffs are good. Keeping that in mind, NASCAR wants Game 7 moments, right? And I don't think there has ever been a bigger Game 7 moment in NASCAR than the 2011 Chase for the Cup. If you know what happened there, Tony Stewart won 5 of the final 10 races of the season, tied Carl Edwards in points at the end of Homestead, and won the championship based on a tiebreaker. It was the closest championship battle that we've ever had in NASCAR. And it was a great one. But it was a culmination of 10 races. There was no elimination. There was no one race to decide. Well, I mean, in that case, there was, but we got there organically, right? Take away bonus points at the end of every round. Take away one race to determine a champion. And I really think you have a system that rewards regular season performance while creating drama in the playoffs. We're going to go to our final break. When we return, I am going to outline how I think NASCAR should tweak the playoffs to better it for everyone for the future. Because as we've seen and as we've heard, not many people are happy about how we decided champion in NASCAR. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We're back after this.
Keep it right here. We'll have more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg in just a moment. From 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
What do you say we turn up the fall meter just a little bit? Cooler over the next couple of days around Lake Norman. Plenty of sunshine today as high temperatures climb into the upper 60s for the afternoon. We go back down into low 40s under a clear sky tonight. Even a few spots around the outlying areas and farms that could wake up to the upper 30s on Wednesday. with high temperatures only in the low 60s for hump day. That's your forecast for the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Cakes, cookies, toys, and gifts.
The Southern Christmas Show, November 14th through 24th at the Park Expo and Conference Center. Save on tickets at southernChristmasShow.com, courtesy of Kraft Body Scan.
The Southern Christmas Show.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Hot Rods and Hops is back on Friday night at Rev Fast in Mooresville. The cruise-in featuring souped-up cars, trucks, and motorcycles kicks off at 6 p.m. Your weekend begins at Apex Storage Condos in Mooresville Friday night with Hot Rods and Hops. Langtree Lake Norman lights their Christmas tree on Saturday. The annual event begins at 5 p.m. Festivities include visits with Santa, bounce houses, vendors, the Langtree Charter Academy Band, and more. Come out Saturday to Langtree Lake Norman off exit 31 from I-77 for their annual tree lighting. The WSIC squad is back for trivia at Micaiah's. Come join us on Tuesday, November 19th at Micaiah's in Mooresville for Big Bang Theory Trivia. Meet WSIC show hosts, play trivia based on the popular long-running sitcom, and win some prizes. Knock, knock, knock. Penny? We'll see you at Micaiah's in Mooresville on Tuesday, November 19th. Speedway Christmas at Charlotte Motor Speedway begins Friday, November 22nd. The Holiday Light Show features more than 5 million lights on a 4-mile course through the oval, pit road, and infield. The show also has drive-in movies on the gigantic Speedway TV. Speedway Christmas tickets and information are available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
The Renaissance Festival is back Saturdays and Sundays, now through November 24th. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com. While supplies last, don't miss the Renaissance Festival. Huzzah!
Morning Star Baptist Church loves its family, its community, and its country, but most importantly, loves Jesus Christ. Hear their ministry Sunday mornings at 9:30 on WSIC.
Be a part of the conversation.
I listen on the way to work.
Have your say.
It's more than just opinions, it's facts.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of the Scoreboard. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. We are spending the final segment of the program today making the NASCAR playoff system better. And I really think I have a decent solution. You're not going to make everybody happy. But there's a few things that we can look at in the past and draw from. I talked about the 2011 championship, Tony Stewart going on that miraculous run in the final 10 races of the season to capture the cup. And what was great about that is it was not a one-race thing, right? It was over the course of 10 races, Tony Stewart went from being at the bottom of the playoffs to the champion. No win in advance, no gimmicks like that, just straight up outran the entire field for the final 10 races. We need to create something where that can happen again. And I do not think winning in is the way to go. So here's my proposal. This is my proposal for the new and improved NASCAR playoff. We're going to go back to the chase plus wild card, okay? Hear me out. Top 10 drivers in points, plus 2 drivers with either the most wins or the 2 drivers with wins highest in points, however you want to do it, between 11th and 20th. Nobody beyond 20th should be in the playoffs, ever. You didn't have a good year. You shouldn't be eligible for a championship. Those 12 drivers then go into the playoffs. And we can use the exact same system we have for this part, right? bonus points, wins, stage wins. We're going to keep the same thing where every point is a position. We're going to keep the stages, keep all of that, right? Okay? So you have built out, and maybe we could tweak a little bit. Maybe it's 5 playoff points for a win. Maybe it's no playoff points at all. Who knows? But I do think there needs to be a little bit of separation from top to bottom for what I want to do. You give out points for the regular season champion. You give out playoff points for all that. You go into the playoffs, and we have a 12-race playoff, not 10. They wanted to do 10 because it sounds nice, right? 10 always sounds good. A 12-race playoff with rounds, with eliminations, without point resets. Do you understand? We go through the first 3 races of the playoffs. Boom, the bottom 4 drivers get eliminated from the playoffs. The points do not reset. All we do is move the cut line up a little bit. You do not give out more playoff points. You do not reset and say, all right, everybody's back to where they were. You continue counting points from where you are. You just eliminate the bottom 4 drivers. They did not perform well in the first 3 races of the playoffs. They're not eligible. Then you go through the next 3 races. Same thing. You cut out the bottom 4 after those 3 races. You do not reset the points. So now we're 6 races in, and we've made it to our final 8 drivers. Guess what you do next? Same exact thing. You do not reset the points. You keep them as they are. You just move that cut line to 4th. Anybody 4th and above gets to fight for a championship. 5th and below, you're out. You go through 3 races of that. Same as we've done for the past, 7 years now we're going on the playoffs? Then after those races, you get to your final 4. And this is where the biggest change is. It is not a one-race championship. A season-long race motorsport should never come down to one race. Motorsports is not stick and ball sports. You're never going to have one driver against another for one race. The winner wins the championship. You can't have a Super Bowl like that in NASCAR. No, nothing like that. 3 races again. That's where we get our 12 races in the playoffs. And you don't put a super speedway in there. You don't put a road course in there. You put, let's see, who's given us good racing recently? You put Homestead in there. I would say you can put a short track on there like Bristol or Martinsville, but it depends on what tire NASCAR wants to bring. If they're bringing that really soft tire that we saw from Martinsville, I'm all for it. And then the championship, I don't care. If you want to go have it at Phoenix still, go have it at Phoenix. At least you know it probably, 99% chance it's not going to rain. With this format, I think it really is more rewarding of a season-long format. Because you have playoffs. You have the ability for the driver who is a wild card to have a great first 3 races, survive elimination, and then go try to survive another elimination. When you reset the points, you just kind of dull everything down, and it's like, all right, we're restarting again. Everything that happened in those first 3 races, throw it out the window. It doesn't matter because we're going to re-add up your playoff points. Everybody's back on an even playing field. Here we go. 3 more races. No, it needs to be season long. That is why you have a season, right? And I'm sick and tired of people comparing NASCAR to a stick and ball sport where it's like, well, yeah, but you have a wild card team and then you have the divisional round but that's one against another. That's team versus team. That's not, hey, we have 8 drivers in the playoffs, but we're racing 30 other drivers out there. You can't do that. I think this is the way to go. I don't think NASCAR is ever going to do this. I don't think anybody is listening who would care enough to say, hey, maybe NASCAR should do that. But if you just don't reset the points and you add 2 races to the playoffs, I think you have a great system. because you then have your wild cards. You keep winning important. NASCAR wants winning to be important. Good. That's where your 2 wild cards come in. You win in the playoffs, that's great. We are not going to push you through to the next round, though. No more winning in. Get that out of here because it's ridiculous. And continue to rack up points throughout the playoffs. And you just total it up. You get the playoff points from the regular season. You start there and you go to the end of the season. That way, you actually can have a organic Game 7 moment if we get there. If every single series through baseball, NBA, and the NHL went 7 games, what's the point of watching the first 6 games? Right? I don't know if NASCAR is going to do this. I would assume that some adjustments are coming to the playoffs due to the outrage that we've seen. Drivers don't like it. You listen to some of the podcasts that Dirty Mo Media has. It's not a good system. Okay, fine. Joey Logano's the champion. I'm all for that. He won it under this system. It's like when Jimmy Johnson won 5 championships in a row on 5 different point systems. Like, okay, he won it. That's fine. But we can still adjust to get better results. I don't think that Joey Logano should be a NASCAR champion this year. I don't. He didn't have a great season. He lucked into a win at Nashville, and if you take that away, he's not even in the playoffs. He lucked into a playoff win, and he goes to Phoenix more prepared than anybody else out there, and he wins the championship. That shouldn't happen. There has to be, and I've heard other suggestions like, hey, if you win the regular season championship, you should have a bye into the round of 8. No, you shouldn't. Because what are you going to do for 4 races? Just nothing? You're just going to ride around? There's no perfect way to do this. If NASCAR wants to do a playoff, that's fine. There is no perfect way to do it. But there are better ways to do it. And I think if you just on paper look at how I have laid it out here for you, I think that would be the best system for NASCAR to take a look into. I don't know if anybody else is considering that. I don't know if other people have brought up, hey, let's just stop resetting the points at the end of every round. Let's just eliminate people as they have bad performances. I really think that's the way to go, but we'll see. Joey Logano is your 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion in the way that we do the points now. If it was a season-long format, he had the 11th most points in NASCAR this year. Keep that in mind. We have to try something different. We have to. We only got a minute left on the program today, so let's go ahead and get into some things that happened on this day in sports history. 1995, Jeff Gordon won his 45th NASCAR Cup race. If I'm reading that right. Doesn't sound right, but ooh, man, 45. On this day, 1986, Roger Clemens wins the AL Cy Young Award unanimously. And we will have some MLB awards coming out in the near future. Richard Petty wins his 4th cup on this day in 1972. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. It was a great day talking to you. I'll be here same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, have a great night, everyone.
Serving you better than ever before. 1059 100.7 WSIC, Statesville, Mooresville, North Charlotte.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshlawFirm.com.
Keep it right.
Meteorologist Chase Myers.
This guy knows his sport. It's Joe Berg in